This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Yeah, so we're here today to deal with a lot of, what was the portmanteau I just made? Trakanadred?
Trakanadred, and the royal family of Camelin / Kyrian.
Mostly of Camelin, though, because we got all the Galad up in that.
I would say Galad is more Kyrianan than Elaine is, because his father was 100% Kyrianan.
Yeah, I guess Galad probably got a chance to actually go back to his dad's estates in Kyrian before he, died. Elaine and Godwin were really young, but Galad was older.
Galad was old enough. Galad was old enough to be really pissed at Tom. That's all I'm saying, if he ever found out about the truth.
Sure, yeah.
That would be a fun face-off, a Tom versus a Galad. You killed my father. He deserved to die, boy. He was gonna kill your mother. Get wise. Like, I can love that face-off.
That would be really funny. And then also, after we get through all the Andor and Trakandi stuff, then we go over to a different location in Andor and do Androl's introduction.
Welcome to the world, Androl.
Yeah, Androl gets born in this episode. He technically existed before, but he becomes the character he will be.
Right.
Brandon inhabits him in this chapter, Working Leather.
He's been a background Ashaman in a couple other chapters, so the name wasn't invented, but the character was picked up from obscurity and created whole cloth. Or whole leather.
Haha. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's this chapter that we're going to be doing today once we get through the Trakandi stuff.
Which I have such mixed feelings on, because I really do think Androl is a really good character. Like, I think it's Brandon's writing at its best. It's just from another book.
Yeah. He should have channelized this energy a bit more into fleshing out Logain. And that would have just made way more narrative cohesive sense than, just inserting this guy from a totally different book series who is awesome. There's nothing wrong with Androl aside from the part where he's anachronistic to everything.
But oh my god, reading that chapter as a Stormlight Archive chapter, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just Bridge 4. This is just absolutely 100% what was going on. The guy's making stew. He's working on his leather. Like, it's 100% just him pre-writing a Bridge 4 chapter and inserting it in and taking an idea that he was already going to use in Stormlight Archive and using it, repurposing it here like Disney repurposed their animation. It's just reskinned.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what turned me off of Stormlight Archive. Was I turned on Stormlight Archive and it was just this weird, it was so familiar, and yet in a different world it completely put me off. And you're right, it's because this Androl stuff that is really cool and fun despite my complaints about it not being Logain, I identify it as Wheel of Time because that's the order I read stuff in, and it's just like, no, I don't want to read you doing that again. I've already read you doing that and it was fine the first time.
And that's why I don't mind him reading it in his own stuff. Writing it in his own stuff. I don't mind reading it when I'm reading whatever.
Yeah, that's just my bias for when I got to it. But I think that's part of what bounced me off of it, is I was just like, no. I've already seen you do this. I've done it once. Thank you. Goodbye.
But do you want to talk about Chapter 45, A Reunion?
Oh, first I want to mourn what just happened to Dr. Pants's book.
Oh.
Its spine just completely split all the way.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Those old school Tor books, man, they weren't designed for keeping. They were designed for reading and discarding, unfortunately. And people are like, oh, I had this book for 20 years or 30 years and it's falling apart. And I'm like, yeah, mass-produced paperbacks. They're not really, people talk about planned obsolescence. And man, these books, not so much planned obsolescence as they just needed to last through a couple of readings, right? You'd read them a couple times, you loan them to your friends, and most of them sat on a shelf and never got touched again because they were crap.
Yeah. Well, a moment of silence for that.
But then those of us read our Wheel of Time books over and over and over and over again until they did that.
It's a beautiful sight. It's a battle scar. It's a sign of honor. Much G. But yeah, I suppose I should read us into Chapter 45. A reunion, and our symbol is the Lion of Andor because this is the Trakanadred chapter of the day.
Dun dun dun.
Elaine woke in her bed, bleary-eyed. "Egwene?" she said, disoriented. "What?" The last memories of the dream were dissolving like honey consumed by warm tea, but Egwene's words remained firm in Elaine's mind. "The serpent has fallen," Egwene had sent. "Your brother's return was timely." Elaine sat up, feeling a surge of relief. She had spent the entire night trying to channel enough to make her dream Terangriel work, to no avail. When she found out that Brigida had turned away Gawain, while Elaine sat inside, furious but unable to attend the meeting with Egwene, she'd been livid. Well, Messana had been defeated, it seemed. And what was that about her brother? She smiled. Perhaps he and Egwene had worked out their problems. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. Just a very simple, like, I've got some news from Egwene. Seems like things are going well with her brother. Little does she know. It's a toxic-ass relationship. But yeah, very normal day for her in Andor, it feels like.
And also just the power of dream communication, right? Like, here's an instant update from the horse's mouth. We've been doing this for books and books, but now it's really coming in clutch because she does not have time to go running around getting into the world of dreams and stuff with the pregnancy and the queening. And it's like, nah, just drop a memo in her dream inbox.
She still needs to be able to channel to get into the world of dreams, and she can't do that consistently while pregnant.
And yeah, next we get the note that it's been a week since the testing of the dragons, and we get kind of a long explanation for how that process has been percolating in the background, which is to say rapidly.
Right. They're putting all the Bell founders they have working on it 24/7.
Yeah, she's stashing a bunch of them in a secret location while one set gets used for practice because, military security. It makes sense to not let those all be out there available.
And in the last book, that actually becomes kind of a major thing, is like, where are the dragons? Where are they hiding them? How are they using them? Like, it's a very important part of the last battle. It's the mystery around the dragons, it feels like. And so this feels like the beginning of that little subplot.
Yeah. Smart move on her and her generals' part. And then we check in with the morning midwife pregnancy check-in routine where we get confirmation that the twins are not just a figment of her imagination and Min's viewing. They are heartbeat detectable.
And they're like, I don't know how you know. Oh, I don't know. The magic that they do all the time? Like...
Yeah, maybe the prophecy chick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I guess people still don't believe it, even though it's like Min... She always complains. It's always really annoying because no one really believes her. And it's like, yeah.
I think Melfane's just far enough away from the situation that she's hearing it about it as rumors, and she's just like, I believe what I see. I'm a doctor. There's this whole thing about how Melfane's been overbearing with Elaine and making her feel claustrophobic, and before she was a godsend because she made food good, but now the fact that she wants to insist on bed rest makes her a terrible tyrant. And I just a little like, Elaine, make up your mind. Is this doctor helpful or not?
Well, because she's doing the right things for Elaine to keep her healthy. And sometimes Elaine agrees with those things, like eating good food. And sometimes it pisses Elaine off, like bed rest when she needs bed rest.
Yeah. Listen to your doctor, Elaine.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think she's doing the right thing for her pretty much all the time for the pregnancy. And that was, helpful for Elaine in some instances and annoying in others.
Yeah. Yeah. And Melfane is like sleeping in the next room. Like, she is not going to let this go. She's very dedicated to the queen's health.
There's no privacy. Then we get a little bit of like the spy master. Master Nori shows up. Dylan, there's this sort of doing their whole intelligence briefing, morning briefing, right? Didn't Master Nori never look in his folder, in his papers? He carried them, but he never actually opened them up. And that was kind of part of his personality, or am I thinking of a different spy master?
No, that's him. When he pulls a sheet of paper out, Elaine thinks like trumpets should have sounded. Like, she thought it was I think that was when it was an example of, it was either the example of that one guy's handwriting or it's Matt's letter. Either way, those are the two times that he actually produces a paper for her to look at, and she thinks it's very impressive.
And yet here he sits down, he opens up his folder and begins arranging papers on the tall, narrow table beside her chair. Like, he's arranging papers for her to look at. I'm like, what? He would never do that.
That is an inconsistency. That didn't even ping on my radar, but you're totally right. That's wildly inconsistent.
Yeah. Just a Master Nori like, what? No, that's a man who never shows off his papers. He always has them just in case, but the information's always in his head.
Yeah. That's weird. I guess sometimes when you're talking about big enough numbers, you need your spreadsheets on hand as a reference. But I thought he was more autistic than that.
Yeah. No, and if the numbers are complicated enough that she needs to look at them, it's like they're simple enough that he either has them in her head or too complicated for her, right? Like there's no in between.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. The next thing that twigged on my radar was when she's talking about moving some of the little band soldiers into her push for Kyrian. And she thinks that she's ordered Nori to send Talmanis a writ with her seal authorizing the soldiers to lend aid restoring order. That was, of course, nonsense. No order needed to be restored. But if Elaine was ever going to move for a political advantage, then she's got to start positioning people around. And I just think that's worth thinking about.
She's trying to take over the country. That's a big part of what her next ambition is. And you know, there's a little bit of her just walking in being like, I am the queen now. And everyone goes, okay. But we see the seeds of it here, right? They're afraid that they're going to be subsumed. The Kyrians are going to be subsumed. They're going to be taken over by Andor, right? And so what she realizes as the seeds of the solution are in this paragraph. Once the Arwen, Sarand, and Marine estates had been among the most productive and extensive in Andor, and now they were destitute, their coffers dry. What she's going to do, essentially, is give lands in Andor to, she says, figure out who the most influential nobles are, who are most likely to profit and who are working against me. Well, what she does is she figures out who her enemies are in Kyrian and gives them giant estates that she took from her enemies in Andor. And all of a sudden, the people who are working against her are like, oh, no, okay, we can be wealthy in 2 countries. That's better than being wealthy in 1 country. Step right up. You know, and so that, and it's all actually built very well and foreshadowed very well in this couple of paragraphs where you see the seeds of the solution and the presentation of the problem all at once.
Yeah, it's some good 4D chess, but I just think it's also interesting that if you want to establish order somewhere, then you can just claim, if you want to establish your order somewhere, you can claim you're restoring order in general and just move your people in and be like, it's mine now.
I don't know. I don't think Jordan could have ever pulled that from any real world example. I've never seen anything like that in the real world. Nothing.
There's definitely no art in forming life here. No. We can't take any lessons from this. And look, just because Elaine is doing a good job because she's being written by a guy who's actually pro-monarchy doesn't mean that the lessons can't also apply to bad people that we don't agree with.
I mean, at this point, watching what our democracy is doing, I might be pro-monarchy as well.
If it's Elaine Trakan, fine. But, yeah. Sometimes I see Jordan say, this is good. And I'm like, I think you're right about the mechanics of what's happening. It's just your value judgment at the end I disagree with.
Yeah, but I mean, what she's making a point of here is that uniting and becoming more powerful and bigger seems to be the trend. You have the Shan-Chan Empire. You have, the borderlands who are together kind of as one. And you have all these lands united under the dragon. And she's like, really, like the bigger to deal with each other, we need to make friends. We need bigger alliances. And like right now, her best way of doing that is by becoming queen of 2 different countries, because right now that other country is not being held by anyone with any real power, and so you can't make an alliance that way.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense in this circumstance for sure. It's an interesting mechanic.
The false flag, moving some soldiers in to help with the peace. It's like,
just claiming that you're restoring order that doesn't need restored, so that way you can put your uniforms into a place that didn't need them.
In fairness, they were all native. Most of them are native born coming back. So there is a little bit of that where you can be like, I'm sending, if we had American troops that went off to work for, Japan for some reason, and Japan is like, I'm sending in troops to help you guys out, and they're your troops. We'd be like, oh okay, cool. That's better than sending in like a Japanese invasion.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's just as the ICE doing the airport thing is kind of the uppermost news item today. It just seemed weirdly parallel.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the book.
I don't know how to talk about the real world anymore. It's such a parody of what reality should be that I don't even know how to saying it's absurd and saying it sucks and saying it's stupid feels so ineffective.
Genocide's bad. Hot take, apparently.
Right. You know, I'm just like, what? How do I even... What is there to even argue with? Because I'm stating things that feel like, oh, empathy is important. Bad things happening to people is not good. Like, these are the arguments I'm trying to make with people, and it's so frustrating and so defeating.
Yeah. As Elaine asks, who stands to benefit most? Who benefits from this?
Right.
Who is benefiting from this?
Not the Kyrianan people. I mean, the American people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably the Kyrianan do kind of benefit from this, but, you know, again, it's because Elaine is a good monarch being written by a monarchist.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they go through this kind of process about who's her real enemy and how to appeal to what they want. It's fun 4D chess. And then we move over to questions of the invasion. The invasion of Andor that the Dark Friends were talking about, and how is it real? Is it a general threat?
Mm-hmm.
How do we respond to it? And they kind of make the wrong bet, essentially. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a coin toss, and they take the wrong side, and thus they are way less prepared than they could have been if they'd been really, really paranoid about thinking about how... Because that's the thing, too, is they think about, oh, well, then an invasion will be overland. They don't even think about the fact that there's a way gate in the heart of the city, which I feel like should have been a higher item on the security issues.
Well, and I love the fact that Matt's holding a letter telling him exactly what's going to happen with the invasion. And here at the end of talking about the invasion, she guesses, oh, is Brigida bringing me Matt? And it's like, yeah, maybe she should be. Maybe you should be asking him about the invasion. Maybe he should be opening that fucking letter, right? Like this, Matt's letter is such a frustrating plot point to me because it feels like he's punishing the readers with it.
Yeah, like what did we do
right?
to deserve that?
Like what? Like it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't help anything. It just makes Matt look stupid for not opening the letter earlier.
Yeah, it makes like a quarter of Camelon's population die for Matt's pride, which doesn't seem proper. Right. Or Matt's paranoia. I don't know.
And then you kind of add in here, it kind of makes Elaine look stupid as well.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't like it. I don't like it as a plot point. I wish he hadn't gotten the letter, you know?
And also, it's silly for Elaine not to know about this because Rand went through that Waygate and he was in charge of Camelon for a hot minute. And he sent the Ogier out to look for all the Waygates because of invasion issues. You'd think he would have left a high priority memo with the palace, with people like Nori, to be like, just maybe that's a thing.
And I think he did, right? That's the thing. Like he sent Loyal out to close all the Waygates, and Loyal said, I closed all the ones that weren't in the city. And Rand said he sent letters to all of the leaders of those cities, warning them about the Waygate. And like that, yeah.
So it's ridiculous for the Queen of Andor not to have been briefed on that and not to be thinking about it and not to immediately leap to that when she has any hint of an idea that there might be an invasion, to the point that that letter is irrelevant and didn't need to exist.
Right.
It doesn't actually serve a purpose.
This should have been like, oh, and make sure we guard the Waygates too. And then like, maybe you can have a betrayal or something from the inside, right? Like, that's fine. Look,
totally. Faldara 2.0.
Yeah, like have a dark friend, you know, who you didn't trust, you know, make one of your characters a dark friend. Fine. But like this whole, I didn't think about it, makes me just, feels dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree.
And so then next thing is in comes Galad and Morghese.
Yeah, we get two cloaked figures, and then it's one happy surprise after another.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of do like the way they approach each other as queens first. This is a good interaction between the two of them. It's well written. I think it's a really good, realistic look at how the two of them would interact if Elaine realized her mother was alive in this moment after becoming queen.
Right, the conflict of... But now there's two queens, and like going to that even before the human reaction of my mother is alive, like she's such a queen that she leaps right to the queenly implications. Yeah, I don't like it because I don't like monarchy, but you're right. It is very authentic to the characters. It's very correct to who they are as people.
I love the irony when she realizes the White Cloaks were telling the truth about having her mother.
That's
great.
That moment when she's like, wait, that moment in which I like embraced my power and told those women to sit down and shut up was the one time that White Cloaks weren't lying to my face. Like, what? Yeah.
And then Elaine working with Galad, and he's like, why are you with them? Or like, I almost forgot that. And he turns, the children had answers, Elaine. And like, yeah, that's the problem. They have answers, not questions. They gave you answers and didn't provide you with any black and white questions.
Yeah, you were a seeker is the real answer to that question.
It's just anyone who claims to have the answer, TM, you know, is most likely bullshitting you.
Yeah. Yeah, unless we're talking about a literal, like, physics equation.
Right.
Then
Right.
no, you don't have the answer.
So that's how I see him, is like, yeah, they had answers. Well, yeah, because you bought into a cult and they told you they had answers to the, you know, big questions of life that we can't answer. Like, what does it all mean and why are you here?
I do like how he phrases it, though. Not that the children were correct, but just that the children had answers.
Answers,
right?
yep.
He's being very honest there, that like he was looking for answers that they provided, not verifying the efficacy of those answers in the real world. Just that was the dynamic.
And now he's the leader and they follow him and he steers them. And she's like, okay.
Yeah. And then Elaine says, oh, we should probably catch up. And so Galad does a very autistic, okay, let me give you a complete and entire and meticulous version of what happened. Just like goes on and on and on. Like people are looking at each other and grinning. There's a whole homey feel of like, oh yeah, this is just how he is. And I'm like, oh yeah, Galad's one of us.
Well, he does have a hyperfixation on sword fighting.
He's a hyperfixation on sword fighting. He's extremely black and white thinking. He follows instructions very literally. His code of honor will lead him into more trouble than it's worth. Like, the man is one of us.
Hey, at least we don't have Gawain.
I am so happy to be claiming Galad instead of Gawain.
Would you like? And then, of course, where do they put him? Right back in his old quarters, familiar spaces. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like, no, not something nice, just his old quarters.
And like, he doesn't linger for a long time. Like, they catch up, and then he's like, "All right, good,
Bye.
we're done," and like leaves. And like the whole conversation feels like an exchange of information. I'm just like, man, the number of men that are like this in my family. Yeah, it's cute. It's very cute. And then Morghese gets more confirmation about Ravin from Elaine, which is cool because she's actually getting to talk to a channeler about it, not just to Perrin, who knows things because of his connection with Rand, but to a channeler who can be like, no, here's like mechanically what happened to you, and we can explain it with like magic science and offer some kind of treatment, which she turns down, but still I feel like it helps deepen her closure to be like, oh yeah, this is like a known thing we can talk about. Even though it was a man's channeling, still here's a woman channeler explaining what compulsion is in a way that Perrin can't.
Yeah, and she can say, oh, I've moved beyond it, right? Like, the compulsion isn't deep anymore. I still feel it, but it's not affecting my life.
Right. It's like when you've moved past like a really intense addiction or bad dark time in your life. You're like, no, like the shadow of it is still there. It's not gone. It's just manageable. It's like how many people I know have talked about depression. Yeah, it's never going away, but it's not a problem like it was.
They talk about Rand a little bit, and I like the motherly response of, I should have thrown him in the dungeon the first time he looked at you.
I also love that Elaine doesn't even begin to try to lie about it. She's like, you're going to be a grandmother, and the father is Rand. Like, just no hesitation, excited to share that with her mother. It's not a secret between the two of them, like mother and daughter.
Definitely.
I like that closeness from them.
And then a little bit shallow where Morghese, they're like, you know, you coming back might open some wounds of all those people you insulted and exiled and that I had to fight really hard to bring back. And she's like, well, I may have to apologize. I would have liked to see a little more contrition on that, to be like, yeah, I really fucked up. I know it was Ravin making me do it, but like, that's on me. I'm going to have to grovel a little bit to these people.
Yeah, what does she say? What's the actual line?
I will have to apologize, Morghese said, perhaps offer reparations.
Yeah, perhaps offer reparations. She's literally being more accountable than the U.S. government to African and indigenous descended people. She's literally leaping to the concept of reparations without throwing a hissy fit. She's literally better than our government.
Well, she did it to very specific people, not to a whole class, so.
Fair. It's a much smaller timeline. She can encompass it more completely within her own self. Still, though.
And the actions of an individual rather than a society.
Yeah. But it's like, is this a huge, massive empire shredding event, or is it like a minor tiff between friends? I can't tell. Because like Elaine had to deal with a civil war. There were like never Trakans. running around. And now, yeah, Morghese is like, well, if I give them a really nice thank you card and like a $50 Sephora gift certificate, are we good? It's like, was this a big deal or not?
Right.
But, at the same time, hard to want to get publicly humiliated and punished for something that like one of the devil's minions made you do.
And so then we sort of have this resolution of her storyline where it's like, I'm going to send you back to deal with Perrin, and you're just going to be my liaison to just basically go back to doing what you were doing, which is sitting at Perrin's side, only in an official capacity as like my advisor on that coast.
Right, because she wants to split the difference on having Morghese around and respected and honored and not overbearing. And it's like, oh, you already are doing that with Perrin? You already have that relationship? We can just put some fancy letterhead on it and otherwise nothing changes? Perfect. Which, I mean, it's going to work out great because Perrin and Fail are not going to want to have to run all their own interference with the crown. It'll be nice to have a middleman to do some of that in-between stuff when they're dealing with all their own internal Two Rivers things.
And Elaine and Perrin never really have any relationship as far as I can tell. Elaine and Matt do, right? And Elaine and Rand certainly do. But like that's one of those situations where I'm like, I can never put Elaine and Perrin in the same room at the same time.
Not until after this meeting. There is the meeting that's coming up. But yeah, that's basically the only time we see them in a room together. I think there might be like half a scene in the Stone of Tyr early on.
Right.
But like, yeah, they know of each other and have like respect at a distance, but they don't actually like spend time together.
Because Rand talks about his friends, Perrin and Matt, and Perrin saw Rand and Elaine kissing in corners, right, in the stone. But like, yeah, I can't imagine them being in the same room together at the same time.
Yeah, they have one meeting that I can think of, and it's in response to this discussion here. So it's after this. So yeah, might as well have the elder Elaine, who does have a relationship with Perrin,
right,
to run that interference.
And that brings us to the end of the POV, where we hear that Linny couldn't be killed by the collapse of Dragon Mount itself.
The comment, I wasn't actually worried about Linny because I just can't imagine her dying, is like adorable. Because yeah, I too was never worried about Linny with the Morghese plot. As soon as Morghese took off out of the palace and Linny went with her, I'm like, well, at least Linny's going to survive. I don't know who else in the party is going to survive. Clearly, Linny will last. So. But yeah, with that, we go over to the other POV.
Aviendha.
In the Threefold Land, taking that last deep breath before plunging into Rhuidian. She's thought about what Nakomi said. She's made the last leg of the trip. And she heads in, but doesn't, do the thing yet. We're very, very slowly creeping up to that. Because that's the kind of suspense that Sanderson likes to build.
And she's kind of thinking about like how the city's different than it was, right? That the three things, right? There's no mist. He created that lake full of water, so that's enough life-sustaining water, which in the waste is a big deal. And then he sort of made the purpose of Rhuidian obsolete because it was to get people ready to fight for the dragon. And now that they're doing that, there's no need to get ready for a fight that's in the past.
Right, and he revealed the secrets that it used to be this whole process to come up to learning, and now it's just anyone can know it. So what's the point of having the secret enshrined in the city? And so she's kind of going in as one of the first people to see the city after that transition and like engage with it as a wise one. Obviously, there's people living there and all that, but I don't think anyone else has engaged with the city as a trial since Rand did anything.
Yeah, as far as we know, I think she's the first wise one. Well, I'm not sure about that. I feel like there's been other people who've tested since then.
I'm not positive either way. But yeah, it's kind of like it's a really important phase in the wise one's collective knowledge is like, how do we transition our knowledge of what this trial means? So
because there are people living there, right? So it's not like these people would still be going through the columns, I feel like.
Well, the columns are still being given a wide berth. People are living in the city. They're not wandering through the Terangrial.
But it's not like, oh my God, the city's you can't get to them because of X, Y, and Z that happened, right? Like if someone wanted to test for either a clan chief or a wise one, they're available, they're open, you can still walk through them. They're not fencing them off, nothing like that.
Yeah, and I don't know if we get confirmation that she is the first or not, but Even if she's not the first, she's certainly one of the first, and she is definitely the most consequential because of her ability to, alter what the settings of the ter'angreal are.
To read the ter'angreal. Yeah, well, let's talk about that when we get to it, exactly what she's doing. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a long episode. But yeah, she kind of is thinking through the mental puzzle of being someone who is both conservative and curious, right? She wants to stick with tradition, but not just for its own sake. She's really like, I want to cling to what's familiar, but also like, I can't justify it. I need to be curious and find new information.
Well, and she's in a new world, right? They have crossed the Dragon Mount, and she, there's too many things. They have to rescue the people from the Shan-Chan. She has her near sister, who's Queen of Andor, who she can't leave. She has Rand, who she, assuming he survives the last battle, she doesn't want to leave, right? She's not, and he's not going to come back to the Waste. Right? There's all these things, and it's like, yeah, all my people are going to stay. We have to adapt to live in the wetlands. It doesn't. I want to go back to the Waste, because that's what I know, but it doesn't make sense for her people.
Right, and it's the whole thing about, like, we can't go back to our old feuds after fighting this massive war together. Like, and she even says it here, it was strength to accept change when it could not be avoided. Like, that's the realization is, like, no, we've crossed the Rubicon. Like, it's not, you cannot go back. There is no going back as much as you want to. It's not enough. So what do you do? How do you handle the fear of what comes next?
And Rhuidian also already is a place where nobody's fighting in the streets, right? It's a place of plenty. It's a place of peace where they are reenacting the Way of the Leaf, right? You have this, the peace of Rhuidian is almost an echo of the Way of the Leaf, right? Anyone who comes to Rhuidian can pick up no spear, can't harm each other. And it's like, yeah, that's an echo of the Way of the Leaf. And now it's going to radiate out from that place as you have this city where people live and survive who are inherently peaceful again, which is their roots as people who follow the Way of the Leaf.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that he says there would be no shops, no arguments in streets, no murderers in alleys. Like, wait, having shops is the same as having conflict and murder?
I did notice that. That is, that feels like it's...
Like, I'm anti-capitalist is the next random person who has a podcast, but, like, that seems a little dramatic. The concept of having shops and murderers in alleys are synonymous. Like, okay. I don't know. I feel like if it's a thriving city, you're going to have people who want to sell baskets for apples or whatever. Maybe it's, like, all supposed to be just a rainbow gathering where everyone just, like, barters
shares
with vibes.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that is weird. But I feel like she means shops that are, like, for earning a lot of profit. Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. That one felt weird.
I totally skipped right over that when I was reading. But yeah, that's a very weird statement. There would be no shops, no arguments in streets, no murders in alleys. It's like, yeah, there's no capitalism.
You can't have peace if there's any amount of shops, which is, yeah, that feels like an oversimplification of the concept of having an economy. Because not all economies are capitalist.
Most cities disgusted her with their corrupt filth. Like, that's not like the corruptness there. Maybe the shops are doing something.
But I'm like, Rhuidian has been inhabited for a whole 6 months.
Right.
Like, of course it's not filthy yet. People have just moved in and are still working on rebuilding it. Like, are you letting the new car smell seduce you? Like, what is happening? I don't know. It feels like very weird, faulty logic there at the end.
Yeah. I feel like, again, that's Jordan trying to write the savage mind, and kind of failing. Or Sanderson trying to writing the savage mind.
Yeah, and I don't like that framing of Diail at all. That they're not noble savages, actually. That's just deeply old concept, even by the time that Sanderson's writing these books. Like, stop it.
Agreed.
Anyway, it makes her decide that she's going to power through the trial, and I guess that's the important takeaway.
But the questions are also important because she uses those to change what the ter'angreal does.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the issues of the past and present and wondering how that should change their outlook on the future. It's good questions. And that's the end of that chapter.
So then let's go right into Androl.
Working leather.
And this is a dark tower, so it's the fang of the fang.
Yep, it's the Black Tower, the Fang, the dark friends, the impending shadows, the paranoia of the taint, right? There's a lot of Sidene stuff.
Yeah. This is a man chapter. And like
A man's chapter.
this is such Bridge 4 vibe, right? Especially like when they start talking about soup, very much Bridge 4 vibes from Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, which is like one of the only things I know from Stormlight Archive, because like that's about how far I got into those books before I decided I was done with them. I was like, okay, I've seen this scene before. Anyway, I've got better stuff to read, like the Bobaverse for the 80th time.
Why do those books appeal so much? The Bobaverse.
Ray Porter. I just like his voice.
Yeah.
Also, I love man as computer and man versus nature as just kind of like thematic trends and genres. I really, really like man versus nature and man becomes machine. It's not the first books that have hit those buttons for me. So they're kind of up my alley already. But Ray Porter's a big part of why I like those books.
But yeah, we get a very long intro about working leather, and I don't have really anything to say about it.
I have two things to say about it. One is there was a tranquility to this kind of work. So much of his life was about destruction these days. And this was something I was talking about with you before we started recording, was like, I've been getting into my sewing room more the last like week or so, and tangibly making things is definitely helping me deal with the raging existential angst of even attempting to keep up with what's going on in the world. I have been repairing, making things that I need, shirts, sunglasses, case. It's just really helpful to make things. So I totally agree with Androl on that just really focusing in on making all the stitch work perfect and making this one thing that will make your life a little easier. It really does help when the world around you is falling apart and your own mind is betraying you. It helps to do something like that. And the other thing I wanted to point out was he thinks, burn the day word got out that I had good shears in here. Because
Yeah.
you keep away from my scissors. This is such a real crafting problem.
That is a real
my
crafting
good scissors
problem.
alone.
Yep. They're there for one thing and one thing only, and people want to use scissors for whatever. For me, it's my knives. It's like, don't fucking open cartons with my good knives.
Yeah, exactly. Do not use my dress shears to cut paper. Don't do it.
Right, cardboard is one of the hardest things out there. It'll destroy any edge that you throw at it.
Yeah. So I just that's very relatable. That is an extremely relatable complaint from him. But yeah, other than that, that's all I've got on his long, beautiful smell of leather digression into being a crafter.
And then we get a bunch of statements that make us realize just how abusive the Black Tower is, right? The whole, like, he could only channel when he was holding leather. The Mahale had beaten that out of him.
I think he beat it out of him with a leather strap.
Probably not, because he wouldn't want him to associate the leather.
Yeah, also the Mahale is lazy, so he would use air just because.
Yeah, he just channels it, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of get like the parameters of Androl, right? Incredibly weak in the one power, but can channel and create gateways without really any effort whatsoever, which makes him very unique. It's so Sanderson, because Sanderson loves to take a strength and a weakness and pair them together and make an interesting character out of that. That's his best, like, and here we have someone who is really, really weak in the one power in general, and then uses this talent at gateways to kind of make up for that, because he can do this one thing better than anybody else. And so if you can push that to the extreme, well, that can be something that's an interesting magic system that Sanderson likes to write.
Yeah. Also, Sanderson just likes to push a magic system to its logical extreme and be like,
Yes.
how can I stack the effects like it's a video game? So yeah, you really see all of that shining in glorious extreme with Androl, because anyone could have used gateways as scissors this whole time. That's not unique to him, but only Sanderson would think, well, what if, right? It's like us thinking about, why don't you make, engines out of Quendiar or whatever. It's like Jordan just didn't go there. Sanderson goes there.
And he goes there. One of the reasons he is able to go there is by, again, giving his character these weaknesses so they can't do the normal thing. There's a reason these characters look for these extremophile magic systems. It's because they failed, which is, that's a huge trope among, old magic novels too, where you have this character who oh, I'm no good at this magic that everybody else can do. I have to go on a quest to somehow find my magic. And then it's either because they're good at a different kind of magic that's way more powerful and kind of subsumes the one that they were trying to learn in the first place, right? I'm thinking like Pug, even in like Canis Trilogy, right? Both of those cases, you have a character who sucks at magic, and it turns out, oh, they were good at the more powerful one. Or you have a character who's blocked by some ancestor of theirs who's given them a magic, but they need to learn something before they can use it, or that level of storytelling.
Yeah, Jordan only ever did it the once with that character who can shield. Just one of the kin who's pretty weak but can shield anyone. That's the one time Jordan played with that for that one character.
Where you push on it as hard as you wanted and it would just stretch instead of breaking, whereas everybody else's would break. Yeah. And I almost feel like that's just because you wanted to create a way to hold a male channeler with one character for a second, you know?
The male channeler? Who was she holding?
Isn't that... Oh, weren't they shielding Rand?
No, it was Nynaeve.
It was Nynaeve.
Kin.
Oh, okay.
It's not nice to die.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, my I need to reread these novels. There are so many details in them.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We podcast about them for years, and like, there's just so many details. If they're not fresh, they fade. You have to constantly be refreshing yourself on these, especially the earlier books.
Yep. Pretty trippy.
The human brain's fascinating. It doesn't work it's like somehow feels like it shouldn't work at all, and yet we survive and function with this brain that can't remember with any reliability or with any detail, and it just kind of makes assumptions and bases our memories on those assumptions.
Good enough to reproduce. That's all that matters.
Good enough for reproductive work. That's all.
It's just cobbled together enough to keep rolling down the hill. Like,
oh my god. Yeah.
It's wild.
My back agrees with that.
So yeah, we think about Logain, we walk around the Black Tower.
It's his philosophy about small things and small moments piling up to make big moments, and that's what a man's life is made up of. It's right, that philosophy of like, do the right thing always, live your code, do the right thing in small moments, and the big moments will take care of themselves. Like, there's that philosophy of life that Androl is very much espousing.
Yeah.
Which on one level I appreciate, where it's like, yeah, that's what hard work is, but on another level it's like, okay, so you never get to have any fun, you never get to relax. Every small moment has to be important. Every moment has to mean something, right? There's almost a balance for me there, where it's like, not every moment has to be important. And I feel like people who espouse this philosophy are like, no, never relax, always work hard.
Yeah, it reminds me of the injunction to like, oh, you can always do more tomorrow than you did today. And I'm like, I literally don't have the capacity for endless exponential growth.
Right.
That's
right.
Actually not how that works.
That's actually not a realistic thing.
So, yeah, but it's also like, there's a nice underlying vibe to it of like, you can always be building and doing better, but like not in a linear fashion, not in an exponential fashion, like not in a consistent way at all, because that would be just endless growth. So yeah, it's like sometimes you just gotta be relaxed and be sloppy and messy, and it's fine. Being a perfect golden boy at all times is actually going to lead you to burnout and judging other people really harshly and making a supremacist state that burns the world down in exchange for Sky Daddy's hopeful pats on the head.
Right. So this is where I say I see religion in Sanderson's writing, and people are like, no, I don't see that. And I go, then you need to look deeper into the philosophy of his characters, because they're just inherently rooted in this belief of hard work leads to goodness.
Yeah.
That's so deeply anchored in Puritanness and worshiping a Sky Daddy. That's just, and it's so automatic because it's so much part of the American culture as well, because again, they're one and the same.
Yeah, and it's like, put off joy now because you'll get rewards later.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Don't agitate for better conditions now because you'll be rewarded for your obedience in the next life.
And it's subtle and it's not over the top, and it makes sense for most of the characters, but at the same time, it's just embedded deeply in his assumptions in a way that sometimes makes it hard for me to enjoy Sanderson.
Yeah. And I find it's nice that he's bundled all this bullshit into Androl, where he's like, yeah, this guy's only 30, but also has lived a bajillion years,
Right.
lived a million lives. And I'm just like, okay, so you're just a Mary Sue. You're a self-insert Mary Sue. I don't need to take you as seriously as I take the other characters.
Yeah, I've lived 30 lives, and like as a guy who's worked a lot of jobs, sometimes it does feel like I talk like Androl, where I'm like, oh yeah, I did that when I worked this job, and I did that when I worked this other job, and
That's just an autistic job track record.
yeah. And I feel like that's somewhat what they're trying to do with Androl, but yeah, him being 30 is way too young. Way too young.
He's like, oh yeah, I've infiltrated like a secret community here and a secret society there. I've been invited to this rare tribal community where I got to be inducted into their...
I've traveled to the other side of the world and back, right?
Yeah, I speak all these other languages and I've picked up all these other trades. And I also started a political rebellion that one time, but I escaped the hanging that everyone else suffered at the end. I'm like, sir, no, you are not where in time as Carmen Sandiego. Like, calm down.
Yeah, I agree. I think he should be in his 50s.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He feels like the way that he tells his story, he should be like in his 50s or even 60s. And then he is canonically claimed to be mid-30s. And I'm just like, no.
And it would make more sense why everyone was deferring to him if he was a little bit older, right? Like all of these,
Yeah. But yeah, he's walking around the White Tower thinking about how weird the gravel looks and how adaptable children are. And
the Black Tower, yeah.
yeah, just the whole thing with how children don't care about superstition and danger and threat modeling. It's bucolic and horrifying at the same time, which is a fun blend.
And the way children can adapt to new circumstances. Yeah, because that's the only thing they've ever known. I never understood why people are so mystified by that.
Because they've forgotten what it's like to be a kid, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It seems pretty logical to me that prejudice and bias are taught, not inherent, but...
The kids didn't live through those 1,000 years of tradition and centuries of tradition. They're going to adapt to whatever the new circumstances are, not giving a shit about the traditions.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Androl disapproves of being told to hold the power all the time because it feels addictive, and he knows that addictive things are bad because moralizing puritanical...
He's experienced them, yeah.
Ideas, again, that being high is bad, and if you enjoy being high, then something's wrong with you. But, it's the one power, so it's okay. It's okay. But he's still going to judge the Mahale for telling them to hold the power all the time, because only bad people want to feel good all the time.
I mean, we are told over and over again that holding the power all the time is bad and, leads to bad things.
We're not shown that it's bad, though. We're just told that it's bad. And everyone who does it doesn't seem to suffer any ill effects at all. So I'm not convinced. I did notice it's interesting that Androl is weakest in Earth. Not only is he weak in general, but he's weakest in what is normally like the strong male power, right? It was all weird that Egwene was strong in Earth because that's like one of the more male powers. I just think it's interesting that Androl's weakness extends all the way even to which powers he's stronger and weaker in.
Well, it makes him more feminine, right? Take away his male masculine powers.
We're emasculating him for the sake of, trope reversal, but he's actually a real man's man. Look while he scores this hot ice to die.
So he's chilling around with the Two Rivers guys, who are immediately told are, of course, good guys because they're from Two Rivers, so there couldn't be a bad one among them.
You see how they respect their uniforms? This line pissed me off. This line about how you can tell how much they respect themselves in their uniform by if they... I'm like, why are they wearing their work uniforms in a ditch? Why don't they have work jackets? Why don't they have contractor sweaters to wear? Why are they wearing their fancy black coats while they're doing essentially manual labor? That makes way more sense to me than be like, oh, well, they use handkerchiefs to wipe their brow. Like, what? What? I don't know. It just really rubs me the wrong way.
It was an odd quote, yeah.
I know that in the culinary world, having a towel as opposed to your sleeves be dirty is important, but this is road work. It's different. Right.
And I mean, they're not using their hands. They are using channeling. So it's they're supposed to just be standing on the side, looking at it, making dirt move. And so they're not dirty and sweaty. They're just sweaty because they're they have to concentrate.
Well, it says that they're dirty because the dust has been blowing all over their sweaty faces.
Fair enough.
Have you ever seen mining? That shit's dusty.
Yeah, it's dusty.
So I don't know. I thought that was weird. I'm like, they shouldn't be wearing those jackets if they're going to be out there in a dust cloud all day. They should be wearing dirty work clothes. That would make more sense. That would be more respectful to the uniform instead of being like, you have to dress in your uniform at all times, and pretend that you're not touched by the world. It's weird. It's weird. Anyway, the Two Rivers lads are young and good because they're from the Two Rivers. Ta-da.
There's a lot of names in this chapter. I didn't do a lot of looking up.
Wow.
The little I looked up, just, like, okay, so Logain had left in the night. He'd taken Delano, Mezar, and Wellin, 3 of the most powerful, dedicated, loyal to him. Do they all get turned? Is that what their fates become?
Mezar definitely gets turned. I remember that name as being an antagonist I'm pretty sure he has an antagonist in a later scene. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't remember. I guess I should be doing more of the looking at things.
Yes, Delano has been turned to serve the Shadow as well. And he is lured into the steading.
Ah.
And then Waylon. Yeah, he's turned. So all these that go with him are turned.
Okay. So these are good guys. They're not traitors. They have to get forcibly turned, but none of them make it. And I'm assuming that they're all named for fans of the Wheel of Time since they exist to be sacrificed?
No, they were actually from TPOD.
Oh, okay. Path of Daggers.
The Path of Daggers.
Way back
so,
when. All right.
Yeah, these are sort of the nameless. This is Sanderson checking the Asha'man off his list as like, okay, these are...
Okay, so this is what I wanted. This is the kind of stuff I want. It's like, oh, those people I should have known. If I'm a super, super fan, I'm going to know that they've been around before, and then I'm going to be sad they died instead of inventing new people. I mean, I'm sorry to all the fans of the Wheel of Time. The inserts are sometimes cool, but this is more what I wanted. It's characters who were mentioned briefly in Book 8 coming back just long enough to get turned and die.
Yeah, and it's like Waylon took part in the battle at Algamar's Manor, right? He watches Rand's meeting with Daughter of the Nine Moons from a distance and travels in as backup when it's revealed she's actually Cimarog. And like he talks about the Traders Board as well in an earlier book. And like Delano, he can read residues, so he could open gateways, participates at Dumai's Wells.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely being present.
And watches Rand select Asha'man to accompany him to Cairhien, so he could have gone with him in that. He was in that crowd. And he's also there meeting with the Daughter of the Nine Moons.
I guess that's part of why they were some of the ones that were most loyal to Logain, is because they've actually been around doing things.
Yes, these are the ones where he's like, yeah, these are characters who've been in the background, who've been help out Rand, who've been sort of the powerful Asha'man that we've used in the past, who haven't really done anything, but now we have to do something with them so they're not participating in the last battle, and so that he can give Androl a reason to be a leader. We get his insanity with the shadows creeping up after him if he holds on the power too long. And sort of how, like, we won't get any more insane, the new people won't get insane, but this is something he's going to have to live with, hopefully, at least until Nynaeve fixes it.
Yeah, presumably this is exactly the sort of thing that Nynaeve is going to be able to actually just fix. Because this is a very concrete, bounded kind of paranoia.
Yeah, one would assume that she can peel whatever taint is on his mind off, and this would go away.
Exactly.
A lot of talk about how the Black Tower is going to grow to rival the White Tower, which no duh.
Yeah. It also makes me think that this was probably a lot of what the island of Tarvalin looked like for the first, 10 years or so, was like a couple of buildings and some muddy streets, but people looking at an empty space in the air saying that's where the tower is going to be. Let's lay out the streets to arrange these boulevards, these views, all that.
And when we have to have these bridges, right? Like,
right,
totally.
Right.
So he comes upon, he's off wandering, and he comes upon people practicing split into two groups, the loyalists and the rebels, or whatever you want to call it.
The disloyalists?
Yeah.
Yeah. The ones that are going with Taim and the ones that are going with Logain. The ones that are aligned with the good and the ones that are seduced by the dark. And yeah, he's kind of noticing that these two fractures exist and how that's not good. If, we're all supposedly working to defeat the Dark One in the last battle, this sure doesn't seem like an efficient way to do it.
Well, and there's so many times when it's like, okay, these are clearly dark friends, right? Like, why is this so hard to figure out? Like, special lessons, learning faster because they're taken over by a evil demon who can channel better. And
they're all mean-spirited and nasty and crotchety, and they're not like these nice, upright Two Rivers lads. Yeah, it just feels like we're being hit over the head with how much Dark Friends they are. And the characters are just like, la-di-da-di-da. I'm sure they're very nice people.
They're being overseen by Coratine, who seems to be just a new character. Just another asshole.
Yeah, Koterin, I think, shows up a couple of times in this conflict. He's a lieutenant of bullshit.
But I believe this is his introduction.
Sure, yeah. Candler, Amaran, and Nalam are characters who have existed for a while before. But yeah, Koterin, I believe, is new.
And, okay, here's what I thought. Nalam launched into another story. He likes to bullshit, right?
Yeah, Nalam is the story spinner.
But here's one story he says. They're talking about the Two Rivers bows. My father trained on one of those, Nalam noted. Learned the art from a Two Rivers man whom he rescued from drowning in Ilion. Has the bowstring as a memento. What Two Rivers man, who would be in his father's generation that we know was in Ilion at the time? Tam.
Tam was drowning once, and this guy's father rescued him, and Tam was like, my bowstring's ruined. You can have it as a memento.
That's kind of what I have to assume this is a nod to, right? Like,
yeah.
What other Two Rivers man ever left Two Rivers? That was a big deal that Tam did that. We know Tam was in Ilion. His father being the right age at the right time, like...
So there is always a nugget of truth in every one of Nalam's stories. I think what we're supposed to take from there's always something in it that's true, and then he just spins it up into more than it is because he's a natural born gleeman.
Or they're all true and people just don't believe him.
And they can't all be true. That's ridiculous. But every single one of them has enough truth in it that he convinces himself that it was just artistic license. That I could believe. His mother was busy infiltrating the Tuatha for their recipes. Like, I don't think so, sir.
But this here, I mean, if you want to talk about Proto Bridge 4, this interaction with these guys sitting around telling these stories, like in this case, Nalam might as well be Lopen, right? The sitting around telling the stories, exaggerating.
Not Wheel of Time Lopen, a different Lopen?
There's a Lopen in Stormlight Archive, who's a much bigger character than the Lopen in Wheel of Time.
Okay.
And he's the one-armed Hardasian who likes to tell jokes.
Okay.
But Nalam might as well be, the characters are the same. It's just like Nalam might as well be the Lopen.
Sure.
And like this whole segment, I couldn't read it without seeing like Bridge 4 sitting around a fire talking about soup. Like that's just what they do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's good flavor text, character building stuff. I'm not mad about the skill being deployed here, but that totally explains. I hadn't put it together because I'm not as big of a fan of Sanderson, but that totally explains why I opened up Stormlight Archive and immediately was like, why am I just back in the last battle? I'm so confused. I mean, not the true last battle, but, we're getting real close.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, like, the Ashaman and Bridge 4 are both groups of men fighting a war destined to die, right? Like, sort of a band of comrades in a bad situation who are using humor to cope with inevitable death and destruction. And, the madness is less of an issue now, but yeah.
Huh. Yeah, those are actually very parallel. It's just that in that world, the madness is external to the men, whereas in this world, the madness is internal. But otherwise, everything's the same. Yeah, that makes sense.
They're destined to die in Stormlight Archive because of the decisions politicians have made for their role in battle, which is to charge at the enemy lines over and over again with no shields, so that the enemy will shoot you instead of our, more valuable soldiers over there, because they're actually trained and you're just a bunch of fodder.
Yeah. The madness is a little bit different here. But yeah, the dynamic of the band of brothers finding camaraderie in a hopeless situation. Yeah, that's pretty parallel.
So, and then there's this moment where Androl references shooting a bow from horseback, and everyone's like, wait, how do you know how to do that? It's just another one of the list of things where people are like, wait, you've done a bunch of shit.
Yeah, he's just done everything. He's a Mary Sue. It's fine.
So then there's the bullying section where Coratine makes him, use his power in the most ineffective way possible to make fun of him for not having any power.
Yeah, and he points out that Koterin is the most dangerous kind of bully, one with power and authority, and how dealing with those is very different from dealing with a bully where the field is a little more even. This is a very, very dangerous variety, so you might as well just deal with it, which is it's a take. He's right. Embarrassment is a small price to pay when someone could possibly kill you instead. But Yeah, again, he's more grounded and reasonable than someone in his 30s should be. You know, he's got a level of groundedness that feels twice that age. And yeah, he kind of diffuses the entire tension between the two groups, much to the dismay of both groups, I think, because the bullies want to have an excuse to beat these guys up, and these guys are righteously pissed.
Right. But wholly underpowered.
So underpowered.
As he points out, yeah. It's basically the new guy and the guy who can't channel very much, and yeah, one person with any experience, but less experience than the people they want to fight, and they're outnumbered, and it's just like, yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, wait for Logain, wait for a team, wait for resources, allies.
It does really make me think, though, that like the Black Tower, I don't know why, but it makes me feel like once you purge Logain's men and all the people who are turned, there's nothing left of the Black Tower. It feels like the entire tower is being turned, and there's a very select few people.
You mean Taim's men?
Yeah, was I saying Tam's?
You said Logain's men, and I was like, no, that's the two different. But no, yeah, with the way that they're turning everyone, what's gonna be left at the end is gonna be like 3 guys.
Yeah, and like it seems like once they get rid of them, all of a sudden all these guys come out of the woodwork and like, oh, I haven't been turned, and I'm on Logain's side this whole time. I'm like, where did you come from? Where have you been this whole time?
I mean, I guess the ones that were with Aes Sedai from before weren't available to get turned, so they can come back.
Yeah, some of the ones with Perrin, some of the ones with Rand.
Yeah, the ones that weren't at the Black Tower.
But it feels like the Black Tower itself is just like being hollowed out, like that location.
But that's also part of why Logain gets that pledge from that woman at the end to say, I will send my sons to you to see if they have the gift. Like, that's part of why, is because the Black Tower is going to be echoingly empty before it's even built. But if you have suddenly a generation of people who are like, oh, yeah, no, like, we send our sons to the tower for testing, it'll fill up real quick. But yeah, really only that first crop of Ashaman from before Taim got power is likely to be able to say, oh yeah, I wasn't around to get turned, so I can show up and be present and not be disloyal to Logain.
And did you catch Amaran, by the way?
Oh yeah. I catch him every time now.
That he's not Amaran?
Yeah, he's that dude from the manor house.
He's Amaran's brother. So Amaran...
Right, Amaran was the name of his brother who Cadswain helped live with, having been stilled, gentled.
Yes. Yeah, but he lived for about 10 years after being gentled.
Yeah, because of Cadswain's care and attention to the whole process and experience. And so, yeah, now he's taking on his brother's mantle, curse, name, identity to take him to the last battle, essentially. It's really sweet.
Right. Yeah, my brother didn't have a chance to fight, so I will credit him for my fighting.
Right. And he had a successful life as a lord and now can, just quietly retire from that and have a new life, essentially, doing what, his brother could not. But yeah, Amaran is a nice voice of reason and experience and seasoning and groundedness. Even though he's not experienced at being an Ashaman, he is experienced at living life, which a lot of, again, the Two Rivers lads, they're all young. A lot of the good guys are really young and inexperienced at just life in general. So Amaran provides a nice counterbalance to that for a while, and he lasts a long time into the last battle. I don't think he makes it through, but he does make it to the last battle, I believe he makes it through the coup, or the reverse coup, or whatever it is that happens where Logain ultimately comes out on top. Oh my god, there's a character in here, Kash, Kash, like Kash Patel. Oh my god, that's funny.
So during the last battle, he fights besides Androl, Pavara, and that group, and lures a group of dreadlords into the steading. That's the last time we see him. So, alive and well, and fighting for the last battle.
He actually lives, presumably.
Yeah, presumably.
Huh, good for him.
Where's Kash? I don't see that.
It's a bit farther down, but Nalam says something is strange about Nenson and that Kash. Where did he even come from, and how did he grow so powerful so quickly? And I just noticed it's Kash, like Kash Patel, the ridiculous, stupid man.
I don't have that name in mine.
Really?
Oh, Kash.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was spelling it C. I'm a dumbass.
Yeah, that's what struck me about it, was that it's Kash, like Kash Patel.
Yeah. No information, although he ends up being part of the Ogier trap.
No, good for him. Go hug a tree.
No other information. This is the only information we have about him. Not named after anybody either, as far as I can tell. No names in this chapter, despite all the names in the chapter. None of them were named after anybody.
Weird.
That I could find. They were all just a bunch of some new. There were new Asha'man for sure made up, but as far as I can tell, they're not named after any of the fans of the Wheel of Time.
There it is then.
I feel like Sanderson was like, he'd spent all this time writing Jordan's stuff, and he's like, I need a section where I can just be a little more free, create some new characters, flex my writing chops a little bit, throw some of my ideas in, and that's why he did Androl. Is like, I feel like that for him was him just like breaking free of some of the constraints that he'd been put under when writing Wheel of Time. And like, if he needed that to write the rest of the books, fine. If
this is a pressure release valve for his creative process, then you know what? Way to contain it.
Right. That's how I feel a little bit about the Androl section. Is it's like, okay, that's where Sanderson was letting off a little Sanderson steam. And that's how he gave us the rest of it. I
can totally buy that he, instead of putting little bits and pieces of it everywhere, he sort of just brought it all over to one plot and said, this is my sandbox where I get to do that with free reign, more or less. And yeah, that's an explanation that I'm not going to be mad about, because who am I to argue with the creative process? And
we all wanted more time in the Black Tower, I think. I mean, like that. I wish Jordan had written more time. Like, that was such a good environment to set up and sort of create this alternate learning environment to mirror the White Tower.
Yes, Sanderson picked a good place to flesh out.
Yeah,
even if he picked an odd set of characters, he picked a very good location.
And I think he picked those characters to give himself more freedom. I think he would have been locked into some certain things if he'd picked Loghain.
Which we might have wanted, but...
Yeah, which we would have wanted, and I think would be better for the story, but probably not better for the author.
Which we do have to give the author some concessions, because he is the one actually in there doing battle with the blinking cursor.
Right. And the filling out the dream and the idea, as much as we sit here and criticize, and we do criticize quite a bit, Sanderson, finishing another author's series is not for the faint of heart. And he did it really well for someone who is not the author who wrote it. And I always want to give him credit for it, despite the fact that I do criticize a lot of the choices he made. But it's because I love it, and I could never write the way he writes, but there's choices he makes that I also wouldn't make.
Yeah. But that's all I got for the rest of the chapter. I'm ready for you to read us out.
Same. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll open the book up again because I closed it because I was done. I was like, that's all I have to. The group turned to Androl. Why did they look to him, the weakest of them? All he could do was create gateways. That's where Cortine's nickname for Androl had come from. Page boy. The only thing he was good for was delivering messages, taking people places. But the others looked to him. For one reason or another, they looked to him. All right, Androl said, let's see what we can find. Bring Evan, Hardlin, and Norley into this, but don't tell anyone else, not even the other Two Rivers lads. Don't rile Taim or his men. But if you do find something, bring it to me, and I'll see if I can find a way to contact Loghain, or at least find where he went. Each man nodded, somber. Light help us if we're wrong, Androl thought, looking back at Taim's favorites. And light help us more if we're right.
Yeah, that is the correct way to look at that, and unfortunately you are right. And
you're screwed either way. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us for another Wheel of Time chapter. We got about 10-ish more chapters left in this book, and then it's on to the final Memory of Light.
And also New Spring.
Yes, and New Spring. But New Spring is such a dot on the sentence, is crossing of the T. It's one of those things where it's like the sentence is written. That's just checking off the last thing.
It's wild. It's wild. We're moving on through. Really appreciate y'all being here and listening to us.
And we're coming up on the 9-year anniversary of the podcast since we started it.
Wild.
When is this episode coming out? Do you have a date on that?
In 9 days.
Okay. So not quite. Probably not this episode, but the one after it will probably come out. Because sorry. Getting my days mixed up. April 21st, it will be the 9-year anniversary of the podcast.
Wow.
April 21st, from 9 years from when that first episode dropped. In, what would that be, 2017? I think at this point? Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
And you and I have been doing it since 2020. So that puts you at nearly 6 years.
It's a long time.
Did it, 3 years with Patrick, basically, and then...
Yeah. I don't like to think about it ending. That gives me an upset brain.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but, I mean, that we are at 14/14.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
That's like more than 90%. That's
I'm
most
not a
of the way
math person,
through.
but that is definitely a lot.
So it's hard not to look at this and go and see the end and see where something that's been a big part of my life for a very, very long time. And we probably have another year, right, before we get through the rest of this book, and I want to take a bit of a break between books, maybe.
We're going to make it take another year. We're
gonna
making
make
this
it take
last for 10 years. That's an agreement.
So however long it takes, but yeah, we're going to try and go for 10 years, and then I think that's kind of where it has to end.
Yeah, I don't like the existential dread. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate all the support that everyone has always given us on Patreon. That's always just been such a wonderful gift over the last 9-ish years to have that income coming in and have that encouragement and have everybody, show their belief in what we're doing here in that way. So thank you.
Y'all are great, and we will see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.